Holly, you're running for Attorney General for the state of Florida. First, tell us a little about yourself and why you're actually running in this race.
Sure. I am from Pensacola, Florida. I grew up there. After growing up there, I went off to Dartmouth for my undergrad and back down to University of Florida for my law degree. For 10 years, I practiced municipal bond law. For 6 of those years, I also served in the Florida House, where I chaired a number of committees, including one that reorganized our state court system, one that looked at our state procurement practices, and one that reformed the Medicaid system in partnership with Governor Bush. After 6 years of serving in the House, I was appointed to serve as Secretary of the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, where we regulate 1 million professionals across the state of Florida. After a year and 2 months of that, the governor asked me to take on a new challenge and asked me to serve as Secretary of the Agency for Healthcare Administration, which oversees the state's $18 billion Medicaid program and regulates healthcare facilities across the state. Now, after all those experiences, I spent a lot of time traveling the state and listening to the people I serve. And when you listen to them, all of the people of this state remain very optimistic about its future. They have great ideas for growing the state, but they keep talking about how government is in the way. They said they wanted meaningful reform, and so my goal in running for Attorney General is to provide them that meaningful reform that will help us recapture the Florida dream.
Now, in your words, explain to us what the Attorney General office actually does. A lot of people have the misconception that he totes around with a gun and a holster. Explain to us exactly what the Attorney General office does.
Yeah, well, if you talk to General McCollum or even Governor Christ about their experience as Attorney General, they will tell you that it's about running an agency and leading a team of about 1,800 people. Neither one of them, I think, spent any time in the courtroom. So there are a lot of things that the team that works in the Attorney General's office does. A lot of it is certainly related to our criminal justice system, and I will have lawyers that prosecute the people who commit crimes against the people of this state. But in addition to that, you have lawyers that work on antitrust issues, you have lawyers that staff the professional boards at the Department of Business and Professional Regulation and at the Department of Health. But there are a number of other lawyers in that 1,800 staff, and here's what I will tell you. Every person who serves in government these days needs to be thinking about how we get this economy back on track. You need to use your lawyers to figure out how do you get government out of the way, and I have a record at DBPR and at ACA of doing just that.
Now, you had mentioned the attorneys that are going to be working under you if you become Attorney General. Are you opposed or do you support limiting the amount of work that's given to outside work, giving out to other attorneys that aren't within the office? Because I know there's been speculation that there's favoritism going out there. Would you limit, or you oppose the limiting of the type of outsourcing that could be done?
Sure. I think you always want to start with the talent you have on your team. At both DBPR and at the agency, I had great teams of lawyers, and they did a wonderful job with a number of things that we were asked to do. Sometimes there were cases that were more complex, and we did look to the private sector for their expertise. And so you need to have that flexibility to handle cases outside when you don't have the talent on your team. General McCollum this year is supporting the TPAC bill, which would limit the fees that you could pay to those outside firms, and I do support his legislation, but I always want to make sure that the people of this state are well represented.
And I want to ask you also, as you know, General McCollum, I spoke to him last night, as a matter of fact. He filed a lawsuit with 12 other attorneys generals from around the country against the imposing of the Obama health care bill on citizens of the state of Florida. If you were Attorney General at the time, would you also file suit?
Absolutely. I'm absolutely prepared to take on General McCollum's suit. I understand the constitutional arguments behind it, the arguments under the Commerce Clause and under the 10th Amendment. I believe he's absolutely on the right track, and I have the best experience both as a lawyer and with the healthcare industry.
So in other words, when you become Attorney General, if you become Attorney General, you would follow through with the lawsuit, even if the lawsuit is still pending. You would follow through with it.
Absolutely.
Holly Benson, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invitation.